And we're back. My name is Jay Weidner, and you're listening to the Smoke and Mirrors Radio Hour. If you want to see something really funny, go to wrench.com and look at the new David Dees illustration. It is seriously hilarious and scary at the same time. Okay, Steve Oakley. Now let's get to the meat of the matter here.
Well, the meat of the matter is Jeff Rentz was just talking about Royal Raymond Rife and his frequency generators, and how just by changing the frequency, illness and disease was modified into health. And so I'm wondering if it's not possible to do that by certain lifestyle changes that many of us are pursuing and continuing to try to tweak to improve upon. And my desire to make that type of move really was solidified when I began to study the arguments and debates between Antoine Béchamp and Louis Pasteur in the later part of the 19th century. And this was the debate of the century, as it were. Louis Pasteur, of course, argued that disease is the result of germs proliferating in great numbers within our body, resulting in the disease process. Béchamp's argument was quite different. He said that our native bacteria, and I don't know if you saw, but just last week there was a report that came out that indicating that 90% of our bodies are actually foreign DNA. Jay Weidner's DNA only makes up 10% of his body, and the rest of is bacteria like mitochondria that is the energy-producing engine in every single cell. The bacteria in our gut, bacteria throughout our body, all this microbial life. 90%. Now, what if these guys get a little bit disturbed? How would they get disturbed? By what Béchamp called the milieu, or the terrain of the body. How we eat, what we drink, how much rest we get or don't get, the psychic influences, the psychological influences, the toxins in our environment, and all of that. And so he said that when life is in a symbiotic relationship within itself, health is the result of that. And when, as a function of adverse circumstances, like those I just named, are brought to bear, that there is dysfunction within the entity. And Gaston Naison, with his dark field microscope, The Persecution and Trial of Gaston Naison by Christopher Bird, is a must-read for anybody that has the slightest interest in their health. He, with the use of his microscope, he proved Béchamp's theory that these microbial forms actually transmute from one form into another, some perceived by science as being healthy-type bacteria, others being disease-producing bacteria, yeasts, molds, fungus. Now, he didn't notice any viral forms, by the way. And Stefan Lanka is the most recent person in that arena who has a standing offer of 10,000 euros to the first person that can give hard evidence of a pathology causing, a disease causing viral form. They don't exist. So all this business of all these illnesses that are the result of viruses, hepatitis, flu, polio, according to Lanka, L-A-N-K-A, that's not what's going on there. And in fact, in many of these cases, it's the vaccination that is being given. But so Béchamp, on one of his lectures, or one of these debates, said, okay, if you are so certain, Louis, that it's because of an infusion of germs, I have requested a third party here to prepare a beaker full of cholera-laced water. And cholera was what was killing everybody in those days. And he downed that beaker in front of the assembled masses to no ill effect. And in fact, it is not possible to create disease with the relevant microbes. You got that?
Okay, let's reword that. I want to make sure everybody's getting
the key. This is the key to understanding why people get sick. Some people get sick and some people don't get sick. It's about the internal terrain.
When you say internal terrain, give me a concrete example.
All right. You get on the plane tomorrow morning and you take a long flight after having a short night because you were up late finishing some of the preparations for the speech or the meeting at the other end of this plane flight. And then you had to get up early to get to the airport. And it was all a rush and little sleep. Now you're on the plane. You're flying on the plane. You're continuing your last-minute preparations. You get there. You go to the meeting. You have dinner afterwards. You stay out later than you usually do with all of your associates. Get in bed late. And the next morning, you wake up and you have a cold. Now, I think almost everybody would suggest they got that cold on the bad air in that airplane. Well, is it possible there were any extenuating circumstances that might have resulted in a shift of your internal terrain? Stress, poor food, missed meals, traveling across time zones, on and on and on. So we often are too quick to make a determination based on the idea of the germ theory. Because the fledgling pharmaceutical companies, which came out of the dye manufacturing companies in Europe, were all over this idea that Pasteur was promoting. Because, hey, here's an object to be killed. We can come up with substances that will destroy these germs. They didn't like Béchamp's idea because that meant you just had to get better rest, eat better food, take care of yourself, get exercise. Love life and allow life to love you. And so that was the beginning of the promotion of the germ theory. And indeed, on his deathbed, despite years of debates, Pasteur, Google it, easy to find, acknowledged Béchamp was right. It's the terrain. So even Pasteur recognized his error in promoting the germ theory throughout his life. So science has not been able. Now you can create illness by overwhelming the body with some kind of toxic mass, and that's what Robert Koch did in 1882 when he said, "See, I can make a disease process by giving all these germs to these chickens."
Okay. We'll be right back. We're listening to Steve Oakley talking about illness and what causes it. This is really good stuff. And we're going to just ram right through it when we get back. And we'll have Steve back, too. So come back in a few minutes, and we'll get the last part of this. Thanks for being on, Steve, too.
You bet.
All right.